Charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
Maya, Charlie, Hotel, Echo. Federal Flight Control would like to welcome you to this facility. Access approved. Make your way to landing pad 40. Assisted docking initiated.
Carson Spring reaches Arc System. Carson Spring, the megaship transporting Professor Ishmael Palin from the Mir's system, has successfully completed its journey, having endured a number of attacks by Thargoid craft. Admiral Aidan Tanner provided this update on behalf of Aegis Research. With support from many independent combat pilots, the Thargoid assaults on Carson Spring have been successfully repelled. The megaship has now arrived in the Arc System with Professor Palin and his staff. Palin currently remains aboard Carson Spring. Efforts are underway to establish a new permanent home at Able Laboratory on Arc 4E, from where Palin's previous
Hull integrity compromised. Taking
offered
damage.
engineering services can resume. Week in review. Here are this week's main stories. The Thargoids have returned to the Pleiades Nebula in significant numbers, leading to speculation that they are looking to reassert themselves in their original nexus. The threat to the Palin Research Center has
Landing gear deployed.
led to the evacuation of Professor Palin and his staff. Palin's megaship, Carson Spring, was attacked in the Mayo system soon after. The Red Family cartel has been crippled following a series of coordinated strikes, which resulted in thousands of arrests and the closure of narcotic production facilities. The success of the operation was attributed to information provided by Red Family co-founder Yen Sandoval, although cartel kingpin Oberon
Landing sequence completed. Deploying ground crew.
remains at large. In other news, anti-slavery charity
Hull repaired.
Chain has officially purchased the 4,000 imperial slaves emancipated against their will on Eotiensis A3. Charity patron Princess Aisling Duval stressed that the slaves would be well cared for, stating the transaction was simply a practical solution to an imperial-made problem. And those are the main stories this week. Unchained purchases imperial slaves. The anti-slavery charity Unchained has officially purchased the 4,000 imperial slaves who were forcibly freed on the Eotiensis A3. Princess Aisling Duval, the charity's patron, gave the following statement to the press. The contracts of all those liberated against their will have been acquired by Unchained. They will be properly cared for while they work to build a new Unchained headquarters in Port Isabel. This will allow them to pay off their debts and become free citizens once more. When pressed further by journalists, Princess Aisling offered a wry smile along with her explanation. I'm well aware of the irony of an anti-slavery organization hiring imperial slaves. We do this only to prevent further suffering at Port Isabel, and undo some of the damage caused by autonomy. Allow me to specify that this is a practical solution to a problem of the Empire's own making. The indentured servitude system may seem honorable, but, as recent events prove, it leaves people vulnerable to abuse and neglect. Unchained remains dedicated to replacing the barbaric practice of slavery with more civilized welfare and employment programs. Red Family cartel raids successful. The Red Family cartel has suffered enormous losses following a series of strikes carried out by the Federal Intelligence Agency. Crime correspondent Ethan Takahashi summarized his report in the Federal Times. In a coordinated operation spanning multiple systems, FIA troops raided hidden Red Family bases and manufacturing plants. Dozens of cartel members were killed in combat and thousands more arrested, while vast amounts of illegal substances were seized. The narcotics kingpin Oberon Church spent decades establishing his empire, but with such catastrophic losses it has been virtually dismantled. Members of federal Congress have congratulated the FIA for removing this blight on federal society. Executive Agent Viola Trask suggested that this success was only possible due to the detailed information volunteered by Yen Sandoval, one of the Red Family's founders. It is widely assumed that Church's arrest will follow soon, effectively eliminating the cartel. Thargoids return to Pleiades Nebula. The Thargoids have returned to the Pleiades Nebula in large numbers, with several conflicts reported within hours. Professor Albert Esro gave an update on behalf of Aegis Research. The Thargoid forces that recently withdrew from the core systems have resurfaced in the Pleiades Nebula following a brief disappearance. An initial analysis of their movements suggests a subtle change to their tactics. I believe they are seeking to reassert themselves in their original nexus. A considerable number of Thargoid craft have gathered in the Mir system. With the Palin Research Center facing an imminent attack, the decision was made to evacuate Professor Palin and his staff, thereby protecting a number of vital research projects. All work at Palin Research Center has been suspended. Regrettably, however, a transmission from Palin's megaship, Carson Spring, indicates that it was assaulted by Thargoid vessels shortly after departure. With system security forces already under pressure, we urge independent pilots to head to Mir and protect Carson Spring. Week in Review. Here are this week's main stories. Aegis Research has announced that the Witchhead Nebula is a viable alternative source of meta-alloys. Professor Albert Esro confirmed that the survey data provided by the galactic community allowed her team to identify this area as a prime source of Thargoid barnacle sites. The Alliance, Empire and Federation have all initiated plans to establish a presence in the area. The Thargoids have withdrawn from human-occupied space. Multiple sources have corroborated reports that Thargoid craft have disappeared from almost all systems, with only Mir and Merope as exceptions. Speculation continues as to the reason for this development. In other news, Yen Sandoval has provided proof that the Red Family cartel she co-founded intends to begin circulation of a new, highly addictive narcotic. The substance poses such a danger to federal space that Sandoval felt compelled to seek the assistance of the Federal Intelligence Agency to prevent its distribution. And finally, the Imperial Internal Security Service has stepped in to detain the forcibly emancipated slaves running riot in Port Isabel. Members of the anti-slavery group Autonomy have also been arrested for initiating the turmoil, including ringleader Garrett Klein. And those are the main stories this week. IISS detains former Imperial slaves. The Imperial Internal Security Service has moved to apprehend the Imperial slaves who were forcibly emancipated on the Otienses A3. Captain Maddock Evander made this announcement. An IISS task force was dispatched to Port Isabel to address the civil disorder arising from the release of 4,000 Imperial slaves, freed without financial support or recognized status. The troops successfully located all the liberated individuals and detained them in temporary holding areas. We have also arrested members of the radical group Autonomy for their role in this situation. Their spokesperson, Garrett Klein, has been charged with manslaughter, having crushed several rioting ex-slaves with his ship while attempting to escape the area. I'm pleased to report that any damage caused within the city is under repair, and disrupted services are resuming.
Landing gear retracted.
Pad detached complete. Regulate speed until clear of exclusion zone.
Flight control, Canis 62 kilos, awaiting docking request.
Welcome, Commander. Please make your way to the designated landing pad.
Frameshift drive charging. Four, three, two, one. Engage.
All clear.
Charlie Hotel Echo. You're clear for approach, Commander. Submit a request and enjoy your stay. Access granted. You are go for approach to pad 10. Acknowledged, Commander. Clear for assisted docking.
Scan detected. Hull integrity compromised. Taking damage. Landing gear deployed.
Solid contact. You may disembark when ready. Station facilities are at your disposal, Commander.
Meet Commander Stu, a cargo trader from Tupertsky who found himself faced with a situation that all pilots dread.
Main fuel tank drained.
Was the last thing Commander Stu wanted to hear. His heart rate quickened and his breathing sped up in panic as he realized the direness of his situation. Once his ship systems began losing power, he knew it was only a matter of time. With the pressure and temperature in his cabin beginning to drop, a mist-like fog formed as the moisture in the air condensed. We call this the fog of death. And with each breath from this moment on, Stu began to consume what little remained of his precious oxygen supply. The rapid decompression kicked in fast, and his hands and feet began to tingle as the oxygen level in his blood fell dangerously low. Followed by a rapid decline in his ability to perform even the simplest of tasks, Commander Stu was experiencing the effects of hypoxia. But at this point, it was too late, since the lack of oxygen to his brain had already created a feeling of euphoria, even though his body had begun to shut down. With his judgment and senses impaired, Commander Stu drifted off into unconsciousness and eventually death. Running out of fuel doesn't have to have a tragic end, but Stu made one critical mistake. He didn't call the fuel rats. So if you find yourself in this precarious predicament, just follow these simple steps. Step 1. Power down all systems except for your life support and power plant. Step 2. Call the fuel rats. Step 3. Live to fly another day. Don't end up like Commander Stupid. Call the fuel rats. We have fuel. You don't. Any questions?
Landing gear retracted.
Clear of the landing pad. You are go for departure.
3, 2, 1, engage. Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping complete. Incoming mission critical message. Incoming message.
South Kruger, Charlie, Hotel, Echo. Federal Flight Control would like to welcome you to this facility. Okay, Commander, land on pad 02. Automated docking confirmed.
Tango Lima, disregard that last instruction. Maintain current approach vector.
Scan detected.
Deploying ground crew.
Next on Radio Sidewinder, it's Galnet News.
This is a Galnet News report from the 20th of July 3305. Unchained purchases Imperial slaves. The anti-slavery charity Unchained has officially purchased the 4,000 Imperial slaves who were forcibly freed on Etienne Says 3. Princess Aisling Duval, the charity's patron, gave the following statement to the press. Their contracts of all those liberated against their will have been acquired by Unchained. They will be properly cared for while they work to build a new Unchained headquarters in Port Isabel. This will allow them to pay off their debts and become free citizens once more. When pressed further by journalists, Princess Aisling offered a wry smile, along with her explanation. I'm well aware of the irony of an anti-slavery organization hiring imperial slaves. We do this only to prevent further suffering at Port Isabel and undo some of the damage caused by autonomy. Allow me to specify that this is a practical solution to a problem of the Empire's own making. The indentured servitude system may seem honorable, but, as recent events prove, it leaves people vulnerable to abuse and neglect. Unchain remains dedicated to replacing the barbaric practice of slavery with more civilized welfare and employment programs. This has been Computer Pete reporting for Radio Sidewinder News. A very strange situation. It suggests that the emancipation carried out by Garrett Klein of autonomy has been struck void. Check your contracts carefully, commanders.
Galnet News transmissions are sponsored in part by the Bank of Zayons. Trust the Bank of Zayons with your hard-earned credits.
When for sure you think your life is worth it, a light beckons reflecting in a wave, but there's no ship and no one knows you're here now, treading water, waiting to be saved. I can't believe it.
Docking couplers disengaged. Regulate speed until clear of exclusion zone.
Affirmative control on the way now.
Frameshift drive charging. Four, three, two, one, engage. Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging. Four, three, two, one, engage.
explore, perhaps the answer lies in your DNA. The adventure gene is carried by roughly 1 in 4 humans. Commanders with this gene are more adventurous and are less restricted by boundaries. They're more likely to take risks, and they may get sudden urges to explore.
Fuel scooping.
But before you can act on the urge to explore, you will need the tools to make that exploration possible. Introducing the Diamondback Explorer by Lakon Spaceways. With a jump range of over 34 light years and a cargo capacity of up to 52 tons, the Diamondback Explorer is ideal for fast transport and exploring. Feed the urge to explore. Buy a Diamondback Explorer from Lakon Spaceways. Exploring, it's in our DNA.
This hour of Radio Sidewinder is sponsored by Pavonis Ear Grubs from LaborSec. If your factory farm is staffed with imperial slaves, you need Pavonis Ear Grubs. They're simple to use. Just attach one dormant grub to each of your servants' foreheads. If a worker tries to escape, the remotely triggered grub will return to an active state and begin to burrow deep into his flesh. The resulting agony will stop the deserter right in his tracks. Protect your human investment with Pavonis Ear Grubs from LaborSec. This hour of Radio Sidewinder is sponsored by V Hercules Body Rub and Toner. V Hercules exfoliates and energizes to leave your skin radiant and refined, even after logging hundreds of hours in the cockpit. Dermatologist tested and non-acnogenic, V Hercules is the only body rub supercharged with 7 natural ingredients and over 3,000 unnatural ingredients. Available in cream, mist, lotion, and gel. It's V Hercules Body Rub and Toner.
Frameshift drive charging. Four, three, two, one, engage.
there, and within the limits of those action-adventure limits, we did not accept the myth that the television audience has an infantile mind. We had an idea, and we had a premise, thank you, and we still believe that. As a matter of fact, we decided to risk the whole show on that premise. We believe that the often ridiculed mass audience is sick of this world's petty nationalism and all its old ways and old hatreds, and that people are not only willing but anxious to think beyond those petty beliefs that have for so long kept mankind divided. So you see that the formula, the magic ingredient that many people keep seeking and many of them keep missing is really not in it is in the audience. There is an intelligent life form out on the other side of that television tube. The whole show was an attempt to say that humanity will reach maturity and wisdom on the day that it begins not just to tolerate, but to take a special delight in differences in ideas and differences in life forms. We tried to say that the worst possible thing that can happen to all of us is for the future to somehow press us into a place where we begin to act and talk and look and think alike. If we cannot learn to actually enjoy those small differences, take a positive delight in those small differences between our own kind here on this planet, then we do not deserve to go out into space and meet the diversity that's almost certainly out there. And I think this is what people respond to. The result of that was 7 years after being dropped by the network, of saying those things, there are now more people watching it than ever before. And if you ascribe those things to any mystic or scriptural brilliance, you miss the entire point. What proves, as faulty as individual episodes could be, is that the much maligned common man and common woman has an enormous hunger for brotherhood. They are ready for the 23rd century now, and they are light years ahead of their petty governments and their visionless leaders.
Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging. Four, three, two, one, engage. System scan complete. Fuel scooping. drive charging. Four, three, two, one, engage. Fuel scooping.
Here we go.
Fuel scooping complete. Frameshift drive charging. Four, three, two, one, engage. Fuel scooping.